Quebec, Canada, fighting Troy the Destroyer Dorsey, 12 rounds for the World Super Lightweight Championship.
What are you going to do now as far as kickboxing?
First, I want to thank God, say hello to my wife, Shelly and Kendra. Happy birthday, Shane, and thank all of my instructors and students at my school. Now, pick up kickboxing and boxing both again and go out there world times. Okay, thank you.
The winner and still our World Super Lightweight Champion of the world, Troy the Destroyer Dorsey!
Growing up, even like when I was little, it was always important for me to make sure no one ever felt left out, to include everyone, and I think even into adulthood, that's really important in relationships with friends, people you work with, people you go to school with. It's just try to include everyone, you know, don't ever leave anyone out.
Yeah, because they're not good enough
Right.
to hang around or not good enough to be with. I wouldn't want to be seen with that person.
Right.
We want to help the Bible even says help out the widows and somebody else. I can't remember who it is. Maybe it might be the children, but yeah, we have to be humble, humble, and the Lord has humbled me several times. So humble is not bad. Humble is good. Good, being good and acting like you everybody's world exists because of you, or my world evolves around me.
Sorry,
No.
1 second, Troy.
God bless you.
Thank you. Oh. My allergies since having the baby puppy around the house, it's been,
Oh yeah,
he's just been crazy. But
that's a fun time getting him trained.
well, he's actually been really sick. This
Oh.
past week, we've taken him to the doctor 4 different times. He was almost septic on Saturday.
Oh no,
Meaning, you know, his body's starting to shut down.
he could die.
He got an extreme respiratory infection, and his white blood cell count was ridiculously high, meaning, you know, his body's fighting something off. He also was borderline anemic. He had lost 1 pound in a week, and you know, to be a 6-pound puppy, that's a lot of weight for him.
It is.
But he's already doing better. On Saturday, the doctor like shot him up with like 6 different shots of antibiotics and fluids, and I mean, like night and day. But I was scared there for a second. I really thought we were gonna lose him.
Yes.
But he's doing better now. I'll have to bring him up here one day. I was
Yeah.
thinking of maybe bringing him to the pickle parade
Oh yeah.
if he's got all his shots by then. So, but yeah, but anyway, go back to where we were. My sneeze got us off track. So, yeah, so kind of comparing that to when you were that underdog, how did you feel when you first like entered the professional realm of boxing? Did you feel intimidated? Did you know, like, what was that like?
I always tried to train hard, and someone said, I saw this one time, a quote, it said, train hard, fight easy. Of course, no fight is easy. Well, some fight, yeah, not first round knockout. I've done that before, but that's not the way it always goes. So, but yeah, you have to train and condition. When you condition your body, you condition your mind. This way you have the confidence to go in and do all you can do if you're in good shape. If you're not in good shape, and there was 1 or 2 fights that I did that I didn't train because I was disappointed fighting this guy, and I lost the fight. I should be the world champion. I really felt like I should be the world champion. He's the world champion. I was a loser, but not a loser, but I lost the fight. So your mind can work with you, or can your mind can mess you up. Just make you think. You know. So instead of me training harder and trying to continue on my goal to be a world champion, there was a couple times I didn't train as hard after I fought him, because I felt like I should already be the champion. Then I was blessed that I fought a guy to a draw. That means it's a tie, so I had the North American Boxing Federation title at that time. And when it's a tie or it's a draw, then I get to keep my title. So, yeah, I remember I fought Tom Boom Boom Johnson from Detroit.
Boom Boom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, talking about Jorge, now he's the guy that, like, was ridiculously crazy, right?
He was a clown in the circus. He grew up that way.
Now, as far as your mind, would you say, like, you're prepared for that? Like, did any of that, like, get in your head? Or?
No, it didn't get in my head. I was just really wanted to tear him up, to beat him, and to take his title. That was my goal. So it didn't really make me upset. You have to have a certain amount of control, where you just can't get totally angry, and you can't just get totally laid back. Like I was saying, after I fought this fight, later that year I fought Tom Boom Boom Johnson, and I was laid back, like I was still thinking in the past that I should be the champion, instead of training like I still want to be champion. And I didn't train as hard for Tom Boom Boom Johnson. Now, if he sees this, that's great. But really, he probably won the fight. But I got a draw because it was here in Fort Worth at the Cowtown, what do they call that? Stockyards. Cowtown Coliseum, exactly. That was it.
So things like that play a role in who wins?
Yes.
Really?
It can.
That just doesn't seem fair.
So I got the home. So you see, I told you a while ago, life is not fair, right? I said something like that. Yeah, it's just not fair. Does it always work out the way I want it to work out? No. Does it always work out the way you want it to work out? No. So we have things going on. There's a Bible verse that reminds me of, and it says not justice, but it says rain. Rain falls on the just and the unjust. I remember when I was younger, I was thinking the people that go to church and the people that have been baptized, been saved, been born again, and they go to church, they have a perfect marriage, they have a perfect job, they have, not necessarily perfect, but it's easy, and but it's not.
That's like when people say, why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah.
Bad things happen to everyone.
Yeah, that's what the Bible says it right there.
But as far as, your mental training you were discussing, like how would you separate, because we all have problems at home and family, and it's just,
right,
it's the daily.
For sure.
Like if those were happening, did it ever affect your training or ever affect, your mental state of fighting? Like what was that like, keeping that separated, or did you struggle with keeping it separated?
I didn't really, and I don't want to be bragging again, but at the same time, I did. I let it bother me against some of my fights, some of the things that were going on outside the ring. So you have to leave the things that are going wrong or the things that are going bad. You have to leave them at home. You have to leave them in the car.
Why do you think mental training is so important to a physical sport?
Yes, really, it doesn't seem, although boxing and I think most sports would be in the same group, that probably 80% of it is mental, because it's what you did to prepare and what you're thinking as you prepared, and then once you get inside the ring, and once you get on the football field, and once you get up on the basketball court, or you get to the track field, so much of it is right here. So God made us, He made us strong, and this right here, this is the strongest tool that we have, our brain, our mind. Mind over matter. I can do this. I will do this. I won't give up. And that kind of attitude is in life. We don't want to give up.
back, y'all, to If the Gloves Could Talk. I'm your host, Bryce George, here every week, and I'm so excited. We've got a really special guest lined up for today, and he is someone who Mr. Troy Dorsey has known since he was about 11 years old, I believe, and we're going to talk to him today about some martial arts. So if you'll help me welcome Mr. Troy Dorsey and Master Mike Ashwood. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Great. Doing great. Doing good. Yes.
Well, thank y'all so much for being on the show. We've got lots to talk about. So, Mike, you are the founder of International Karate and Self-Defense here in Forney, Texas. And before... Kinda.
Mr. Dorsey allowed me to. He passed the torch to me with the name when he opened Troy Dorsey's Karate and Fitness Kickboxing, and he. When I started with Mr. Dorsey, it was International Karate and Self Defense, and then when he changed the name, he said you can go ahead and carry that torch. So, but yes, I opened the one in Forney.
So that's great, Mike. And before you even got into, where you're at today, can you first tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into martial arts?
Sure. I was playing Pee Wee football, and my uncle, who was 18 months younger than I am, started karate in Dallas at Harry Stone Recreation Center under Hoover Hawthorne and Walter McCullough. And he had been there for almost a year, and I got to watch. Once football season was over, I went and watched him go to karate classes, and I was immediately intrigued because they were throwing each other on these mats, and then when they said go put your sparring gear on, I was like, oh, that looks good. And so from then I was like, I want to go spar. And it was probably 2-3 months later, we was at Rudy Smedley's tournament, and in comes Mr. Dorsey, and everyone was like, there's the world champ, there's the world champ. And we're like, where? And anyway, we found out he was just a few miles up the road, and we started over there. And initially we were doing both because we were learning some great technique and fighting strategies from Mr. Dorsey, whereas at the rec center, it was just a bunch of ruffians, and we just like to brawl. So we got to go try our fighting technique and strategies against, just the brawlers. And so we enjoyed both for a little while. And then we just went full time with Mr. Dorsey after a few months of that.
I love it. And you earned your black belt in 1988. And
correct. October 2nd, 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
You know the exact date and time. Yes, do you know the exact date and time for you, Troy?
Yeah, November 26, 1979.
Wow. What about the time of day?
Started at 12 and ended at about 5.
Wow. So you did mention earlier, Mike, that you started teaching for Troy. What was that really like, getting to work with him?
Oh, it was great. He kind of, at first it was, hey, I got to go train. Can you guys cover these classes for me? Talking about me and my uncle, we were black belts at the time. And, obviously it was an honor to cover some classes for him and teach while he was away training for his fights. And then it just became, it was fun. There was no pressure. Everyone enjoyed the classes. And of course, most of our classes consist of bow in, okay, go put your sparring gear on. So it was a lot of fun. But we had a lot of good times, and I guess the learning curve of what people are looking for when they're training, because not everyone wants the same thing. Some people want a good sweat. Some people want some technique. Some people want, to challenge themselves. Some people just want to get out there and have fun with their friends. So it was really eye-opening for me early on. And I was in high school at the time. So I was a freshman in high school when I got my black belt. So, and as soon as I learned how to drive, it was, hey, Mike, can you go up there and cover me? Well, initially, Mr. Dorsey would come pick me up in his Datsun 280Z. And I thought, wow, he's got a cool sports car. And so we would head up to the school, and he would drop me off. Then you have to drive out to Gorman's gym to train or whatnot. But, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Mr. Ashwood, he's, I don't know, I remember now as he's talking about these things So I would train for when I fought for a world title, I usually trained for 6 weeks, or really any fight, 6 weeks. And him and his uncle is younger than he is, right?
Yes, sir. We grew up like brothers.
Yeah,
So
there's
we
just
fought like brothers.
So both of them would just come and help teach before they were even driving a car. They would come up and help teach while I was training for my fight. So sometimes I'd be gone for 6 weeks, like I said, and they would just take over. They were just kids running the school for me, and that's how good they were, and that's how much I trusted them to be able to take care and handle the school and handle teaching the classes. And my wife was there also at times. So between Leslie, Mike, and Ken, it was I had it all taken care of.
Wow.
They were great.
We were two of his first black belts under 18, and he had approached us about junior black belts. And we were like, well, I don't know. It's whatever you want to do. But, I mean, we spar the adults, and we do everything the adults do. And, and at 14, I was as big as Mr. Dorsey. Not as good, but I was a big kid. So I was like, sure, I mean, whatever. And he was like, nah, you guys can have regular black belts. So, anyway, that was a small snippet because my uncle got his black belt in 87, a year before I did.
And so we fast forward to 1992, Mike, and you became the Dallas Texan Golden Gloves champion. Can you tell us about this tournament and some of the other ones you competed in?
So in 91 was my first time to fight in the Golden Gloves, and we were all excited. I had no idea what it was all about. And, Mr. Dorsey had formed a boxing team, and we were training obviously on weekends and anytime we could. And of course, during the week, as much as possible, get together. So in 91, I fought a guy. When I weighed in at 199, he was 299. And
the Golden Glove.
In the Golden Gloves, yeah. And he did an uppercut that picked me up off the ground and threw me in the top ropes. I come bouncing off the top ropes with overhand right that knocked his mouthpiece out.
Wow.
That was a fight, and people were like, wow, I can't believe you're winning. What happened? And he hit me so hard, like I couldn't even see straight. And Spider Bynum come over and looked at me. He's like, look at me. And I guess one of my eyes was a little crooked. He's like, then we're not going to start here. And so we stopped the fight there. And then the next year that I came, that is when I won. And so I beat the guy in the finals that beat Patrick Williams in that year to win the Golden Glove. So it was eye-opening what 100 pounds difference does when someone hits you.
Eye opening and eye closing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But that was it. The next year I came back and we trained hard, and I had won that year, and it was a hard fought battle too. And the first year I won fight of the night because I fought Patrick it was my second fight for Patrick, but the first night I fought a guy that actually went to my high school, and he fought for the Dallas PAL. And we won fight of the night that year.
Wow. And I do have to now ask is we jump all the way to 2001 and you have your All-American Open that you win. So what's this tournament like? How is it different from the Golden Gloves? Tell us a little about it.
Well, Golden Gloves is obviously full contact, and then the Karate All-American Open karate tournament is supposedly not full contact; it's semi-contact. But it was hard hitting, and we had that year a Mexican team come up from Mexico representing Mexico, and there was team fights as well as grand championship fights. And that year I had won first place in forms. I had tied with one of Master Wong's students for first place, and we ended up doing a runoff, and they just said, do your most basic form. And I was so nervous because I remember hearing the story of Demetrius Avanis winning forms competition with Chunji. And so I did Chunji. And so Ray McCallum was on the board of judges as well as some of Master Wong's high-ranking instructors. And long story short, we did a runoff, and I won first in forms that year. And then I also won the grand championship that year in at the All-American Open, which is one of the oldest running tournaments in America still.
Yes.
Troy, did you ever attend any of these tournaments or see him fight competitively?
Oh yeah, we were there, right?
Yes, sir.
He was
Yes,
right
sir.
there. He was your biggest
He was
cheerleader.
like, "You got this, man. You got this. Guy's nothing. You know, he's the greatest quarter man. He just hypes you up and just makes you feel like I can do this." So he ain't got nothing. This dude was fast, so super fast. And I was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Man, he's not even as fast as you are. You got this." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess I do. At least somebody believes in me." And away we go. So he's a great player.
What year was that, Mr. Ashwood?
2001.
Wow, so
Can you
20.
believe that's 23 years ago?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
We don't have to math right now.
So,
Go ahead.
so that I'm gonna expose how young I am. That was the year I was born. So that just shows you. But
That's cute.
that's crazy. Now, I don't have this question written down, but I'm curious. I want to ask. So, it's a conversation Troy and I have had before, and it's about how, the ability to, know that you can walk into a room and almost fight anyone and probably win, especially when you're younger. That confidence can almost turn into something negative, like ego or pride.
Right.
How
Often it does. Some people.
Right, exactly. How do you combat that, when you were younger, or also while you were competing? Same thing with your students you have now. How do you make sure that confidence doesn't turn into something like that?
I've had that same question from other people, and Ron McClain actually did that year. I won grand championship at the All-American Open. He was like, "How does it feel to know you're the baddest dude here?" And I just laughed, and I was like, "Well, just remember this: I've had my butt whooped more than I've won, so that humbling right there." So, we've all paid our dues, and like anybody else, you do your best every time. You just got to have that confidence that I can win, but it doesn't always happen.
Right.
Mike Ashwood doesn't know about ego.
I can tell.
He doesn't know. He's humble, a very humble guy. So, yeah.
I would truly have to say every single guest we've had on the show, especially you're in the same boat, Mike, is you all are just so humble, and it's amazing because you're experts in your craft. And I think that really says something in all aspects of life, is you should always be humble.
Absolutely. And grateful.
Right. Exactly. So now let's talk about your school. So you taught under Troy, you got that experience. What made you finally want to, kind of take on this new path in Forney and lead on this new school?
Well, we were looking to move to Forney about a year before we opened up. And so my wife and I, we had little kids at the time. We had a lot of friends that moved out to Forney. It was a growing community, still kind of a small farming community still. And so we were just kind of looking to get out of where we were. I lived in Mesquite at the time, and Mesquite was getting bigger and bigger. And so we were like, well, let's move to Forney. And again, we had some friends moved out there, and they're like, you should really come out here and open a karate school in Forney. And long story short, it just made sense for us to just go for it. So I had found a building, and obviously, overhead's the number one killer. So I found a cheap, just metal building that I can throw some mats in and put a sign out by the curb, karate classes. And so we came out, did some flyers, and all the grassroots things. And we'd started up our first month, and we had 7 students. So it was a rough in the beginning, but we certainly made a go of it. So, and that was 20 years ago.
And I'm not sure if you know, Mike, but
the studio, 063 Studios that we're in right now, this was Troy's old karate studio here in downtown Mansfield.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Very
so
cool.
the building was purchased, and I believe it was officially, was it December 2021, Troy? And you were officially moved out in March 2022, and our team, we moved in March 2023 of last year, and it's really amazing. I mean, it's hard to, not think about the positivity and the possibilities that can happen in this space because, this is just an icon, it's like a historic monument in Mansfield. And there's just been so many lives impacted in this building. So it's fun fact. Now that's where we are. So yeah, I love it here. And Troy, now you're on Lone Star Road here in Mansfield. So Troy still does have a studio here in Mansfield. It's just a little bit up the road.
3 miles to be exact.
3 miles, that's it. You could walk if you wanted.
What's that?
You could walk there if you wanted to.
Yeah, 3 miles south to Lone Star Road. Take a right. It's down the hill. It's on the left. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. And Mike, let's talk about, you've had some pretty successful students come out of your school. Can you tell us, have any of them won national championships? What have they gone to do?
Shortly after opening in Forney, I had met a gentleman named George Strickland, and he was with a group called Taekwondo United. They were a breakoff from American Taekwondo Union / Taekwondo America / I think it turned into Tiger Rock. Anyway, long story short, we started forming these regional tournaments, and then with the other guys around the nation, we started having national tournaments. And I had counted 28 of my students had won a national championship in their division. I've got 10 of them have won multiple national championships, meaning they did it in forms fighting and weapons competition. And then my demo team, ever since 2007, when I started competing in the, 2017, when I started competing in the demo team competition, my demo team competition is team has finished top 3 every year. So we haven't won first yet. We've either second or third place just about every year. But, that's a lot of fun as well.
That's impressive. And something that you've ingrained in your students is reaching their full potential. So my last question is, why is it so important to teach your students about reaching their full potential, and what does that even mean?
I think a lot of people just sell themselves short, and they think, oh, I can't do that. And matter of fact, most of my students that go on to win national titles, and we're talking 60 schools come together. It's not like it's a national tournament in a gymnasium with 5 schools. It's 60 schools coming together and 400 or 500 competitors. Most of them start off like, am I ready for nationals? And I'll say, you absolutely are. And so with that said, most of the, and I say this humbly, not really humbly, most of the great fighters come from Texas. And so we have a long history of having great point fighters and full contact fighters and people that can, do their forms and make it sharp. And so they kind of laugh at it until they get there. And they're like, and the parents are like, oh, wow, there is a big difference. And there is. But it starts from childhood. Go do your best. Don't try to win for your parents. Don't try to win for your instructor. Go out there and do your best. And then the next time you do it even better. In 2001, we went to the Martial Arts Super Show in Las Vegas. And Mr. Dorsey and I were walking to the fights. And we're passing Hoist Gracie. And Hoist is like, hey, Mr. Dorsey, I'm a big fan of yours. And Mr. Dorsey, hey, thank you. He's like, seen all your fights. Awesome. And Mr. Dorsey turned to me, who is that? And I said, that's Hoist Gracie, winner of UFC. He's like, what's that? So that was been a while. Like, it's where they mix martial arts. Oh, yeah, okay. So
that sounds like Troy.
Mr. Dorsey before he even knew who Hoist was.
That was pretty cool. What year was that?
2001, I believe it was. It was it might have been 9 even. It was one of the first martial arts super shows that we went to together.
Oh, okay.
And we watched the fights, and let's see, Bob Sapp was there, and Kung Lee was fighting, and he had those crazy takedowns, and it was the K1 fights that we went to watch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was
Do you know
pretty
who
cool.
Hoist Gracie is, Bryce?
No.
Yeah,
I
he's the most.
don't.
Well, 92, 9 years before you were born,
Yeah, yeah,
he
So he
won
was
the
a pretty
UFC.
big deal.
yeah. He is. He is. He
Wow.
was the one of the first winners of the UFC, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he.
Sir.
Yeah, very, very, very famous person in the mixed martial arts fighting. If
Yeah.
not the most, probably the most famous fighter
Wow.
from UFC, right?
Yes, sir.
I don't know.
Yes,
It's
sir.
hard to say.
UFC Hall of Famer. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of famous, but he got it all kicked off.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for joining us on the show today. Troy, is there anything else you have for Mike?
He's just been an amazing student, and one of my, let's see here. I'm trying to think who else has a school that I've worked with. I don't think anybody else does have a school that I've trained. So yeah, he's been the most successful student, and he's a great fighter and a great teacher. You don't find that often. Often you can either teach or you can fight, or you can't do either. But but there's one guy that I know that can teach and fight and walk the walk, talk the talk. Of course, he does not do that. He's humble. So I'm sitting here listening to some of the titles that he's won. I didn't even know. I didn't know about the titles that he had won and the titles that he helped the students win. So that's amazing how well he's done. I'm so glad and so grateful that he's able to do that. Take
Thank
his
you,
students
sir.
to national championships. And like I said, how many schools were there?
60.
60. That's a
Mhm.
lot of schools from all over the country, right?
Washington, California, Florida,
Wow.
New Jersey. Matter of fact, one of the top New Jersey guys came from Texas, and he's a transplant, so he's got some great students there as well. So I was like, "See, it's Texas, man. It's Texas."
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
Mike, thank you so much for joining us today on If the Gloves Could Talk. We'll be right back, you guys, after this commercial break.